Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine Avataravadeshtaya Ramakrishna te Namah. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityormamritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate who came to establish universal religion. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. We have been studying Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Today's topic I have chosen, acquire wisdom. Life is very precious. If we don't use it in a proper way, we are the losers. We do not know for certainty that we will be born as human beings immediately next life. Nobody can say that, because everyone's destiny is guided by one's own mind. Mind is the storehouse of all tendencies accumulated. The resultant action of all the actions done, good or bad, knowingly or unknowingly, they all get locked up in the mind in the form of impressions. So one has to be very careful in accumulating good impressions rather than the bad ones. And afterwards, you must aspire for acquiring wisdom. Once you get proper wisdom, your life's journey is fulfilled. You will be able to reach the goal if you have acquired true wisdom. So wisdom plays a very important role. I don't know whether people are giving primary importance for this most wonderful quality. Sri Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sita Prajna Lakshana, most famous chapter, most famous section in the second chapter, how a person of steady wisdom behaves in the world. So Lord Krishna has given guidelines. It's not that we don't have any teacher to proceed. Everything is there. Only we must be willing. Are you willing to acquire wisdom? Are you willing to shut down your worldliness? Are you really willing to aspire for spiritual illumination? Do you really want to get freedom from bondage? So let us try to understand the word wisdom, which is very important in everyone's life. The word wisdom implies something more than knowledge. We may have knowledge of something, but if we do not know how, where and when to use it, that means we lack wisdom. So when you don't know how to apply the knowledge, you are proving you lack wisdom. Sri Ramakrishna used to give the following example. Wonderful example, most appealing, convincing example. Sri Ramakrishna said in the Gospel, we all know there is fire in wood. That is knowledge. But this knowledge is useless if we don't know how to light a fire from the wood and use that fire in cooking food. If we know that, then we are wise. Wisdom then, therefore, is something more than knowledge. It has its roots in knowledge, all right, but it is something more. If knowledge is the tree, wisdom is the fruit. We may have knowledge and yet make mistakes about the fundamental things of life. On the other hand, wise people may not have much knowledge, but they are sound in their judgment and they rarely make mistakes. There are scholars who are unscrupulous and can do anything for selfish reasons. Is scholarship good if it is used to hurt others? Knowledge is power. But is it a power for good or for evil? Often it is for evil. Look at the aborigines all over the world. They are innocent people, though shy and ignorant by our standards, but how they have been exploited over the centuries. They are now on the verge of extinction, or they are preserved only as showpieces. What a price they have had to pay and are still paying for our so-called civilization. The history of civilization is a history of the exploitation of the weak by the strong, of innocent people. The nations who lead the world today are powerful, ruthless and unscrupulous. They don't worry about the means. By hook or by crook, they get what they want. And they are not ashamed of the ways and means they employ. The rise of colonial powers makes an interesting study. Greed combined with enterprise and superior knowledge of the military art made some nations go round the world looking for loot. They robbed one nation after another, taking advantage of their weakness. Some of those victimized countries were superior in many ways, but they were not strong enough to meet the onslaught of the marauding nations. Often the marauding nations came with the apparent intention of trading, but their real intention was to annex those countries. Then, having once captured power, they treated the people as slaves. This is what happens when knowledge is divorced from wisdom. It makes us arrogant, it makes us unscrupulous, it makes us aggressive. We exploit the weak and gain what we want by any means possible. We are rash and thoughtless in our actions. We have no self-control, so we are carried away by our passions, bringing more harm to ourselves than good. A wise person, on the other hand, is thoughtful and never does anything without giving due thought to the consequences. He has full control over himself. He is conscientious and never hurts anybody except under extreme provocation. And if he has to hurt, he hurts with moderation and great sympathy. His knowledge of things may be limited, but he uses that knowledge only for the good of others and never for their harm. The difference between knowledge and wisdom then is that while knowledge means merely having something, wisdom means having something and putting it to good use. Viveka means wisdom or discrimination, we call it. Thorough analytical way of thinking and acting. And Chudamani is a jewel worn on the head. Appropriately, Shankaracharya has likened it to a jewel in the head, Viveka Chudamani, the most famous scripture which has to be read by sincere people seeking spiritual life. Sri Shankara addresses our moral sense and understanding. He appeals to our reason in a unique way. For clearness and simplicity, it is unparalleled. The aim is freedom from the bondage of the world. It wakes up every human being who is asleep, appeals to the universal ideal of common humanity. Shankara says that it is not enough to listen to his words. Freedom from bondage of the world demands something more. Sickness is not cured by saying medicine, but by drinking it. So a man is not set free by the name of the eternal without discerning the eternal. In other words, the teaching must become part of our life and character if it is to bear fruit. It is futile to contemplate the virtue of freedom in the abstract without living the higher life. Sri Ramakrishna says in the Gospel, one must propitiate the Divine Mother. The primal energy in order to obtain God's grace. God himself is Mahamaya, who deludes the world with her illusion and conjures up the magic of creation, preservation and destruction. She has spread this veil of ignorance before our eyes. We can go into her chamber only when she lets us pass through the door. Living outside, we see only outer objects, but not that eternal being, existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. Therefore it is stated in the scriptures that deities like Brahma praised Mahamaya for the destruction of the demons Madhu and Kaitab. Shakti alone is the root of the universe. That primal energy has two aspects, vidya and avidya. Avidya deludes. Avidya conjures up lust and gold, which casts the spell. Vidya begets devotion, kindness, wisdom and love, which lead one to God. This avidya must be propitiated. And that is the purpose of the rites of shakti worship. Sri Ramakrishna said, you may ask, is there any difference between the realizations of the two jnanis? One a householder and the other a monk. The reply is that the two belong to one class. These are Sri Ramakrishna's words. Both of them are jnanis. They have the same experience. But a householder jnani has reason to fear. He can't altogether get rid of his fear as long as he is to live in the midst of lust and gold. If you constantly live in a room full of soot, you are sure to soil your body, be it ever so little, no matter how clever you may be. After extracting the butter, if you keep it in a new pot, then there is no chance of its getting spoiled. But if you keep the butter in a pot where curd has been kept, well, then it is doubtful whether it will keep its flavor. When the parched rice, a few grains jump out of the frying pan to the ground. These are white like mallika flowers, without the slightest stain on them. But the grains that remain in the pan are also good, though not as immaculate as the fresh mallika flower. They are a little stained. In the same way, if a monk who has renounced the world attains divine wisdom, he appears as spotless as a white flower. But one who stays in the frying pan of the world after attaining knowledge may get a little blemish or love. Once a Bhairavi came to King Janaka's court. At the sight of the woman, the king bent his head and cast his eyes to the ground. At this the Bhairavi said, O Janak, even now you are afraid of a woman? Through perfect knowledge, a man becomes like a child 5 years old. He doesn't know the distinction between a man and a woman. Although a jnani living in the world may have a little blemish, yet this doesn't injure him. The moon undoubtedly has dark spots, but these do not obstruct its light. See how nicely Sri Ramakrishna gives examples. Amazing. Then Sri Ramakrishna tells another point. Because, you see, the whole world is full of preachers. In fact, the number of preachers are more than the number of followers. That means who practice what they preach. Every next day you find in the news media one Mahatma rising up suddenly from nowhere. So much advertisement. Well, Sri Ramakrishna cautions. There is no harm in teaching others if the preacher has a commission from the Lord. That means if the preacher has a commission from the Lord, it means that he has acquired true wisdom. And the teachings coming through such person of true wisdom are very effective and transforming. You know, there was a great Rishi in modern times in India known as Ramana Maharshi, well known. What tremendous wisdom he acquired. One could see that by just seeing his face, always illumined, silent and cheerful. He would teach people more by silence than by talking. Nobody can confound a preacher who teaches people after having received the command of God. Getting a ray of light from the goddess of learning. A man becomes so powerful that before him big scholars seem mere earthworms. When the lamp is lighted, the moths come in swarms. They don't have to be invited. In the same way, the preacher who has a commission from God need not invite people to hear him. He doesn't have to announce the time of his lectures. He possesses such irresistible attraction that people come to him of their own accord. People of all classes, even kings and aristocrats, gather around him. They say to him, "Revered sir, what can we offer to you? Here are mangoes, sweets, money, shawls, and other things. Will you be pleased to accept them?" In that case, I say to them, Sri Ramakrishna said, "Go away, I don't care. I don't care for this. I don't want anything." A person of true wisdom doesn't desire anything. Does the magnet say to the iron, "Come near me"? That's not necessary. Because of the attraction of the magnet, the iron rushes to it. Divine wisdom is inexhaustible. Such a preacher may not be a scholarly person, but don't conclude from that he has any lack of wisdom. Does book learning make one wise? He who has a commission from God never runs short of wisdom. That wisdom comes from God. It is inexhaustible. At Kamarpukur, Sri Ramakrishna said, "I have seen people measuring grain. It lies in a heap. One man keeps pushing grain from the heap toward another man who weighs it on his scales. So the man who weighs doesn't run short of grain. It is the same with the preacher who has received a commission from God. As he teaches people, the Divine Mother herself supplies him with fresh knowledge from behind. That knowledge never comes to an end." Can a preacher ever lack knowledge if but once he is favored with a benign glance from the Divine Mother? Therefore I ask you, Sri Ramakrishna said, whether you have received any commission from God. He was conversing with Pandit Shashadhar, who had come to meet Sri Ramakrishna. Hasara, one of the persons living near Sri Ramakrishna, he intervened. He said, "Oh yes, he must have it." Then to the Pandit he said, "Isn't it true, sir?" Pandit said, "Commission? No, sir, I am afraid I have not received any such thing. Host said, he may not have received the commission, but he preaches from a sense of duty. Master said, what will a man accomplish by mere lectures without the commission from God? Once a Brahmo preacher said in the course of his sermon, friends, how much I used to drink, and so on. Hearing this, the people began to whisper among themselves, what is this fool saying? He used to drink. Now these words produce a very unfavorable effect. This shows that preaching cannot bring a good result unless it comes from a good man. A high government official from Barisal once said to me, sir, if you begin the work of preaching, I too shall gird my loins. I told him the story of people's dirtying the bank of the Hardar Pukur, and of its being stopped only when a constable armed with authority from the government put up a notice prohibiting it. So I say, a worthless man may talk his head off preaching, and yet he will produce no effect. But people will listen to him if he is armed with a badge of authority from God. One cannot teach others without the commission from God. A teacher of men must have great power. There is many a Hanumanpuri in Calcutta. It is with them that you will have to wrestle. Pointing to the people assembled there, Sri Ramakrishna said, these are mere sheep. All the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, you see on the backside, on the wall. Each one is great, each one is possessed with true wisdom. Swami Premanandaji, he said, see God, know the Atman, then will the book of infinite wisdom will be open to you. He who is infinite wisdom and infinite being dwells within you. In order to attain wisdom of God and liberation for one's own self, one need only to receive the sacred mantras from an illumined Guru, and with complete faith becomes absorbed in the practice of japam and meditation. Through spiritual practice, one should acquire true wisdom. Another direct disciple said, suffering comes to everyone. No person in this world is free from suffering, whether a saint or a sinner. But there's a way of approach. It all depends upon attitude. With what attitude you consider, that makes much difference. The man of wisdom remains unruffled, but the ignorant one becomes sorrowful. This much is the difference. He is indeed wise, whose mind doesn't react through, though he has the objects of enjoyment before him. This is the test. Temptations come. They come to tempt you. If you yield to the temptation, then you have failed in the spiritual exam. So, you have to be very careful when you are trying to acquire wisdom. When you are trying to go in the spiritual path, all the time you must be watchful about things around you and about your mind. When your mind has attained that stage, then only you can be sure that it is all right. Another direct disciple said, light the fire of wisdom in our mind and heart, and nothing weak or impure will dare approach you. When that fire is kindled, all imperfections and impurities are burnt to ashes. If you would gain wisdom or the knowledge of your infinite nature, you must go to one who has realized his infinite nature and serve him. Then bring forth your doubts and you will be illumined. That means you must be humble. Knowledge of the Atman or higher self comes only through humility. You need not be reminded of the absolute hollowness of the so-called wisdom of the modern age. Man doesn't become really wise by reading books written by men, whose earthbound minds have not the power to soar in the infinite firmament of truth, whose speculations end in agnosticism, skepticism or atheism, whose moral principles wanting the basis of eternity are little better than jargon, and whose ignorance keeps them confined in the limited span of precious life, bounded on both sides by birth and death. Do your duty for God's sake, and know that all belongs to God. If you have this attitude firmly established in your heart, you will reach freedom and wisdom in time. Wisdom lives in the heart of every living being, but we do not perceive it because the thick clouds of ignorance obscure it. The 5 sheets of body, senses, mind, intellect and ego are the 5 clouds that hide the eternal wisdom that is within. Constant hankering to become omniscient proves beyond a shade of doubt that infinite wisdom resides in the heart of everyone. How to attain wisdom? If we throw away egoism, we shall know that God and man are one. This is what is called realization or the state of superconsciousness. It is attained when the stick has been taken out and the current has become one. This is the goal of jnana or the path of wisdom. As an individual, you are the architect of your own destiny. What you are today is in part the result of what you have been thinking and doing in the past. What you think and do today will determine your tomorrow. So, we must follow guidelines to acquire wisdom in life. One is the purpose of human life. One should very definitely know that human life is not meant for to live in the way the animals live. The purpose of human life is to unfold one's inner potential. You are neither a body-mind apparatus nor a limited individual. You are in reality Atman living in a physical body. The body and mind are simply the media to manifest your inner potential in this lifetime. Your limitations are the limitations of the body and not of the Atman. Always remember that a life without goals is akin to a journey without destination. So, the second point is set the goal. The 4 ends, the general goals of human life are to develop virtue, acquire wealth, fulfill legitimate desires, and attain spiritual wisdom and liberation from bondage. Therefore, acquiring diploma degrees, becoming married, having children, and supporting them through college, growing old, and dying are not really the goals. These are merely a few toll booths on the highway of human life. You must establish specific goals to unfold your own inner potential and wisdom. If you don't do it, you are the loser. It's as simple as that. So the important tools have been given to us by the infinite mercy of God. The head, heart, and hands are the three important tools needed to accomplish one's goals. These tools must be perfected during youthful years and properly coordinated later in adult life to achieve success. To sharpen the head, you must acquire education in arts and sciences and learn necessary technical skills to help you make a decent living in this world. As part of this overall education, you must learn the spiritual principles of life. Read scriptures and study the lives of sages, saints, and great men and women of the world. To kindle the lamp of your heart, you need to develop qualities such as love, nonviolence, kindness, and compassion. To strengthen hands, you must maintain a healthy body, proper diet, and regular exercises such as simple hatha yoga and pranayama can be used to permanently maintain the physical body in a healthy state. If you are healthy, then only you can achieve something. If the body is sick, then mind becomes sick. Then your whole system becomes sick. Then you end up in sickness. So, the most priority is maintaining health. Simply maintaining health and spending the time in a lavish way is useless. Maintaining the health for what? For realizing the truth. For doing more spiritual practices. So, the next point is building up your character. What the world today needs is character, says Swami Vivekananda. A man without character is like a wild bull let loose in a cornfield. Every fool may become a hero at one time or another. But the people of good character are heroes all the time. Establishing good character means acquiring established wisdom. Pratisthita prajna. Nothing great can be achieved in life without a good character. The character of an individual is the aggregate of his mental tendencies. If good tendencies prevail, the character becomes good, and if evil tendencies prevail, the character becomes evil. So when the individual performs good work and continuously thinks virtuous thoughts, there is an irresistible force in him to be good and to do good. Once good character is set to be established, when one is under complete control of his good tendencies. We live by our habits, and habit is the second nature of man. One's character is essentially a pattern of repeated habits. Therefore, develop good habits. Beware of your habits at all times and counteract bad habits with better ones. Value time and be punctual. Never think it doesn't matter if I arrive on time when everyone else comes half an hour late. It does matter, since you are the one who can set an example for everyone else. As they say, two wrongs don't make a right. Time management is a critical factor for success in today's world. Since you can't do everything that crosses your mind, prioritize your work. Develop the habit of using things to do lists to help you perform the daily chores around the house and at the workplace or wherever you may be. Next point is develop an integral personality. To be successful in life, you must develop a well-balanced personality. Yoga, devotion, knowledge and action are the four components of an integrated personality. These are akin to the four wheels of an automobile. If one wheel loses air, the automobile cannot be driven too far with only three wheels in operation. A man with great intellect but no feelings cannot do much good to the world. Likewise, a man of great devotion but no action is not useful either. An ideal person would be the one who has the intellect of Shankar, the heart of Buddha and the body of Arjuna. Apply the power of positive thinking. God has given us not only the mind and ability to think, but also the choice to create from our thoughts. Thought is the power of the mind, and that manifests in the things we create. For example, a beautiful statue is not the work of a hammer and chisel, but the sculptor's thought. The hammer and chisel are the tools that merely remove the excess material so that the sculptor's idea can be manifested. Sages tell us that the mind is so powerful that if we think of a particular disease all the time, that disease will appear in the body. Similarly, if we think of success all the time, the success will be achieved. Remember that constructive thoughts create our goals and destructive thoughts destroy them. Whatever you harbor in the innermost chamber of your heart will shape itself sooner or later in the outward life. Since the state of doing comes from thinking, fill the mind with the highest ideals and divine thoughts. According to sages, regular divine affirmations eliminate physical and mental restlessness, worries and anger, and provide inner strength to face the challenges of life. And another factor is have faith in yourself. One of the most important prerequisites for success is to have faith in oneself. If you don't have faith in your own self, you are essentially denying expression to the soul power that is hidden within you. Not believing in the glory of our own soul is what Vedanta calls atheism. The old religion said that he who was an atheist who did not believe in God. He was an atheist who did not believe in God. The new religion says that he is an atheist who does not believe in himself. These are the words of Vivekananda. Whatever you think is what you are. If you think you are weak and helpless, that is exactly what you are. If you think yourself to be strong, strong you are. No good can possibly come out of a person who thinks himself to be helpless, incompetent or incapable. The history of the world is the history of a few men and women who had faith in themselves. We cannot blame the sun for not giving us light if we choose to shut the doors and windows in a room and live in darkness. Faith in ourselves and faith in God is the secret of success. And then eat foods that revitalize the mind. The mind is a material entity and attains intelligence by its proximity with Atman. Being material, the mind consists of a substance which is the essence of the food consumed. According to the famous Chandogya Upanishad, the food when eaten becomes divided into three parts. The grossest portion of the food consumed is eliminated as waste matter by the organism. The middle portion is transformed into bodily structure, and the subtlest portion serves to build up the mind. We are what we eat is a common adage. Our food and eating habits determine in no small measure our environs and general outlook on life. So, let us focus all our faculties to acquire wisdom. That is the way to success. We have come close to the Gospel of Ramakrishna. We have almost completed. Now I am reading from the Appendix A with Keshava Dakshineshwar. Keshava Sen, the leader of the Brahma Samaj, was expected to visit Sri Ramakrishna at the temple garden at Dakshineshwar. With the master were many Brahma celebrities, Pratap, Trailokya, Jayagopal and others. It was only a few days before the annual festival of the Brahma Samaj, and the Brahmos were eagerly awaiting the arrival of their leader, who was to come by steamer. They were restless and talking rather noisily. Ram, Manamohan and several of the devotees of the master were also there. At last Keshav entered the master's room with 2 fruits and a banquet of flowers in his hands. Bucket of flowers. Touching the master's feet, he laid the offering at his side. Then he saluted Sri Ramakrishna with great reverence, bowing very low before him. Sri Ramakrishna returned in like manner his distinguished visitor's salutation. Then he laughingly began the conversation. Let us be restless, then Govinda will come. To Keshav's disciples, Sri Ramakrishna said, see, here is your Govinda, referring to Keshav. We have been showing signs of restlessness all this while to set the stage for your arrival. It is not easy to have the vision of Govinda. You must have noticed in the Krishna Yatra that Narad enters Vrindavan and prays with great yearning, O Govinda, O my soul, O life of my life. And then Krishna comes on the stage with the cowherd boys, followed by the gopis. No one can see God without that yearning. Well, Keshav, say something. They are eager to hear your words. Keshav humbly said with a smile, to open my lips here would be like trying to sell needles to a blacksmith. To sell needles to a blacksmith. Master said smilingly, but don't you know that the nature of devotees is like that of hemp smokers? One hemp smoker says to another, please take a puff for yourself and give me one. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They heard the music from the Nahabat in the temple garden. Master said to Keshav and the others, do you feel how melodious that music is? One player is producing only a monotone on his flute, while another is creating waves of melodies in different ragas and raginis. That is my attitude. Why should I produce only a monotone when I have an instrument with 7 holes? Why should I say nothing but I am he, I am he? I want to play various melodies on my instrument with seven holes. Why should I say only Brahma, Brahma? I want to call on God through all the moods, through Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya and Madhur. I want to make merry with God. I want to sport with God. Keshav listened to these words with wonders in his eyes and said to the Brahma devotees, I have never before heard such a wonderful and beautiful interpretation of Jnana and Bhakti. We shall stop here. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. Own name streamed down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself, O self, drowned deep in the waves of His bliss, tasting His nectar at every step, bathing in His name that bath for very selves. Various are thy names, O Lord. In each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness. who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass, be patient and forbearing like a tree, take no honor to thyself, give honor to all, chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Ah, how I long for the day when an instant's separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be, in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stillest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere, may all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery, may the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free, may good betide all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may the worlds be prosperous and happy, may the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be freed from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied, for he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased, he being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.